All right, so you guys ready to talk about the nasties, the bacteria that cause diseases? As I mentioned before, this table shows there's two parts to the table, and it shows the different bacteria that we're going to be talking about. Again, don't worry about every one of them and all the little details. Go through and highlight the key ones that we talk about. Come back to this table and use it as a reference if that makes it easier for you. But what I want to start with are the bacteria that we tend not to like. Get familiar with them. I'm not going to ask you, again, all the little details. What I want you to be able to do is identify the disease that's bacterial focused or bacterial caused, because how we treat that is different than a viral disease. So if you're moving towards healthcare or you yourself contract one of these diseases, if you take an antibiotic for a viral disease, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. If you take viral therapeutics for a bacterial disease, again, doesn't do you any good. You need to know that this disease is bacterial based. Now what do I do to get rid of it? Antibiotic. But is it gram positive? Is it gram negative? What's the shape of the bacteria? What's the color of the cell wall? All right, so those are the big things I want you guys to take away from this. Not all the little details about intricacies of the diseases. You'll get that as you move on in micro, and then if those of you heading towards healthcare, you'll get a lot more detail with these. But if you go into those courses knowing, oh, Lyme disease is bacterial based, tuberculosis is bacterial based, etc., then you're already a step ahead of a lot of folks. So, okay, so the first one, tuberculosis. This is a bacterial disease. Breathe in. Okay, did you infect or inhale bacterial particles when you were breathing it in? They make their way down into your lungs, and then they start to destroy lung tissue. Leads to some serious health problems. The concern with TB, many strains of TB are multi-drug resistant. Crazy thing, this one's been around since Egyptian times. There are mummies from ancient Egypt that had tuberculosis. So that's a scary thing. You go and work with a mummy and open it up. Are those bacteria still there? They've just been dormant and endospored. So, okay. Who's had a cavity? No. We can't see each other raise our hands, but I want you guys to think about yourselves, your friends, your family members. If you've had a cavity, it's because of bacteria. It is not because you eat chocolate and etc., etc., etc. Bacteria cause it. Not brushing and flossing contribute to the cavity, but the root cause is the bacteria in your mouth. The human mouth is actually nasty. It's a cesspit or cesspool of bacteria. So what they do, the bacteria live in our mouth, they live on our teeth, and they hang out. Now, when we leave them all sorts of food, like candy, chocolate, chunks of food that you didn't brush off your teeth, that makes the bacteria smile, they reproduce, they make more bacteria, and the waste product of the bacteria metabolism is what will eat away the enamel of your teeth. So they're producing this acidic waste product, and that slowly erodes the enamel. Now, again, raise your hands. Who eats lemons? Who chews on ice? Those things, plus others, weaken the enamel of your teeth. So that means there's less of a defensive structure for the bacterial waste product to have to erode through before it erodes and eats its way into the soft underlying healthy tissue, creating the unhappy tooth, the cavity. Let's give you a little tear here because if you've ever had a cavity, you know they're not very fun. So why do we brush our teeth? To decrease the available food for the bacteria. You're not going to get rid of them. You're going to knock them back. You're going to reduce the population, but you go to sleep at night and you wake up in the morning with that morning breath, it's because there's plenty of bacteria back in your mouth. And remember, it's got a 20-minute reproductive cycle. Brushing your teeth might get rid of half of them. course of a couple hours, that population's back to the original size. But we constantly have to beat them back, fight them off, try to minimize their population. All right? So there's kind of the progressive steps of erosion of your teeth leading to tooth decay. Oh, ulcers. Lots of things give us ulcers. Bacteria are the root cause of ulcers. This has been proven scientifically. It is not because you ate spicy food. It's not because of whatever you drank. It is the bacteria. Helicobacter pylori. Bacillus-shaped bacteria. So think about, here's a shape. There's a little flagella coming off of them. That is what causes ulcers. They produce secretions that eat away at the lining of the stomach, and as they, in a sense, eat their way through the lining of the stomach, they reach that neural tissue, the muscle, the sensitive area, then you have an ulcer. Why does jalapenos and spicy food hurt? Because that stuff has a low pH, and that low pH, or the acidity, is hitting that raw spot in your stomach lining right here, and now you're not feeling very good. It's kind of like putting salt water on a cut. It hurts. If you didn't have a cut, salt water doesn't hurt. But when you expose the sensitive tissue because you've cut your hand, now the salt water can get down to the neural tissue or the sensitive tissue. That's what's happening with an ulcer. Bacterial caused, not stress caused, not food related. Those things accentuate the ulcer. They don't cause it. So, all right. Next one. Close your eyes if you guys are sensitive. There's some graphic stuff. STDs. Do not raise your hands here. I don't want to see anybody raising their hands saying, yes, I have. We don't want to know this. But I want you to think about these 3 common STDs. These are in Springfield, in our community. The good news, you can really say good news about an STD. Syphilis, always kind of low numbers. Gonorrhea, cases have dropped and stayed down. But chlamydia, holy moly, chlamydia, girl, going up. That one's skyrocketing. So here's the rates. You go to the CDC's website. In Illinois, 154.7. Let's round it to 155. 155 people out of every 100,000 have gonorrhea. That's not good. So 155 people in Springfield have gonorrhea. There's the bacteria. That's what it looks like. Syphilis. Oh, look at Illinois. 6.2. We're not the worst. Check this out. Don't go to Texas, Louisiana, California, Alabama. Ooh, not good. Florida, bad. Avoid spring break. Syphilis. But that's out of every 100,000 people. So 6.2 out of 100,000, 155 out of 100,000. So between gonorrhea and syphilis, we have about 161 people infected with an STD. Syphilis comes in multiple stages. You get infected, don't even know it. Then all of a sudden, why do I have a sore there? That's not right. Sometimes it goes away. It's gone. No, this bacterial infection is not gone. It's simply receded and it's moved into other parts of your body. You look at the secondary stage, rash, soreness, lesions, fever, sore throat, headache. Sounds kind of like the flu in some cases. But what it's doing is the bacteria is increasing in population size. By the time it hits tertiary stage, you're starting to see some damage to your internal organs, cardiac, nervous system, blood vessels. It's a bacterial infection, guys. It can be treated with antibiotics. This can kill people. Now, how long does it take? That varies from person to person, but it's treatable, but it needs to be caught early. Simple blood tests can tell you if you have it. Key is identifying it early. Chlamydia, there's a big one. This is the one that has the most number of cases, 506 per 100,000. So between chlamydia, syphilis, and gonorrhea, we're looking at roughly 660 people in Springfield that probably have one of these 3 STDs. Now, granted, some people may have won the lottery and gotten 2 or 3 of them. Yay! No, that's not good for them, but you think about that. What are the odds that you may come in contact with somebody who has these? So we want to be aware of it. If we do contract this, get a blood test, get rid of it. Antibiotics, and they're gone. All right? But you have to be aware of it. The concern, especially for women, is if they contract one of these STDs, it's a thing known as pelvic inflammatory disease, PID. Pelvic inflammatory disease. This is bad news. It can lead to sterility in women because it scars the uterine tubes so bad. Any of these can do this, not just chlamydia, but syphilis, gonorrhea. The bacteria can scar up the uterine tubes that a woman won't be able to have a child. The egg gets ovulated, but it gets stuck in the uterine tube because there's so much scar tissue. The egg can never make it to the uterus for development. May not even make it there for fertilization. So be very careful. Be careful. It may be embarrassing, but long-term health is worth a little embarrassment if something like this does happen. All right? And doctors are very discreet. They're not going to tell anybody. You think you have something, go get it checked out quickly. So, all right, another one we often don't think about, this little sucker called Lyme disease. Lyme disease is caused by this shape of bacteria. Quick question, what's the scientific name for that shape of bacteria? And no, I'm not going to tell you. If you don't know it, look it up. Deer ticks, carriers of this bacteria. The symptomatic bullseye rash is how most people often diagnose it or identify Lyme disease. Problem is that rash may only show up in 30% of the people infected. So you get bit by a tick and, I got a headache, I don't feel good, I'm achy, I'm sore. Oh wait, this is the flu. Because I don't see a rash, I don't see this bullseye thing. Or in today's world, maybe it's COVID. Get tested. Again, a simple blood test. A couple weeks later, man, I still hurt. My muscles ache. I got some paralysis. It's progressing. You don't get this treated, you're looking at serious health problems. Get tested. This is in Illinois. I know multiple people in Menard County that have gotten Lyme disease. This is 2016 data. Every blue dot represents a case of Lyme disease reported to the Center for Disease Control. Okay, updated maps will be coming out in the near future. You guys want to know what's going on at a county level? Go to Illinois Department of Public Health's website, look up Lyme disease. But I wanted you to kind of see the big picture. So here's a good question for you guys to start pondering. Why is there such a large percentage of cases of Lyme disease in the Northeast and upper Midwest? We don't see really anything over in these regions. Why doesn't Nevada have? It's got like 2. Why doesn't it have more? So what is the environmental connection here? I want you to think about that. We can see connections, disease connections to environmental case or environmental conditions. And as climate change continues to change our environment, diseases like Lyme disease will continue to spread beyond their normal ranges. So, all right, so those are what we'll call the bad bacteria. In our next chunk of lecture, we're going to go through the good ones. These are the bacteria we like. These are the bacteria we go, yay, I like you guys. So let's check out the next lecture and talk about good bacteria.